What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another season of Behind the Flavor. Thank you so much for watching our first season and making it such a big hit. In this season, we're going to have our much anticipated coffee episode, and we're going to start you off with our 2026 flavors of the year that you won't want to miss. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Flavors, where we're going to take you behind the flavors of the year for 2026. I'm joined today by one of our previous guests on Behind the Flavors, Hunter. Hunter is one of our flavors who created one of the flavors of the year that's going to be Haskap berry. So, Hunter, why don't you start out with what is a Haskap berry?
Yeah, Haskap berry is a berry that originates from the northern hemisphere, particularly northern Russia, northern Japan, and Canada. It's a very antioxidant-rich berry that's kind of similar to blueberry, maybe with a mix of raspberry in it.
The way that its taste profile works, you're saying that it kind of resembles a blueberry and raspberry. What makes the Haskap very so sought after in terms of what it can give to a product?
Yeah, it definitely gives that health halo to it with all the antioxidants. You can make lots of health claims. Definitely could trend towards the next new superfruit, kind of like acai was maybe 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, so we're kind of on that front edge of it. And honestly, until you had brought this flavor to my attention, I had never even heard of a Haskap berry. And then when I got to taste it, you're right, it's definitely interesting. And one of the things that I think that works so well with it is it's very we don't have a ton of new fruits flavors that are coming in the market, and as we know, fruits are one of the highest moving flavors in almost all industry. So Hunter, why does it taste so exciting?
Well, it's familiar and it's also new at the same time. Like it's similar to a blueberry. It's familiar. It's a berry, but it's also new. It's global. It's international, and it's just a touch different enough from a blueberry that it's new and it's exciting.
Yeah, and that unique new name will bring a lot of attention to it as well. So now that we've kind of talked about where it comes from and why the hype and the trend might be there, what are some applications that we could see it working well in?
Well, I did some demos with a slushie and an ice cream, but also a hard seltzer. So it could work in a beer, in a canned cocktail, in a hard seltzer, a vodka, any alcohol or non-alcoholic base, a mocktail, sparkling water, soda, things like that.
So it seems like it's pretty cross-categorical, if you will. It kind of can work in all the different industries, which makes it a very good flavor to trend in that way. So Hunter, we talked about all these great different things that go on with it. So if I had to ask you, what would be your favorite application of it?
I would say there's two of them. When I tried it in ice cream, it tasted really, really cool. It went really well with a dairy base, but it would also make a really great sorbet too. And also I brew my own beer. I'm a home brewer. I think it would go really well in a beer base too, like a nice light beer like a Kolsch or a Hefeweizen. Do a nice Haskap berry light beer. I think that would be really, really cool.
And if you would like to request a sample of our new Haskap berry, please reach out to www.beckflavors.com and hit that request a sample button. And please stick around for our next flavor of the year in the sensory category. Moving on to our next category for our flavors of the year in 2026, we have a new type of category this year, one that we're calling Sensation. I'm joined with one of our new sample coordinators here at Beck Flavors and aspiring flavorist, Katie Bartlemeyer. How are we doing today, Katie?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Let's kind of unveil it. What is our Sensation flavor of the year for 2026?
It's going to be Frozen Blast. So what you kind of think of with Frozen Blast is going to be a cooling peppermint feel, but it's going to be beyond that. So it's going to be that cooling sensation kind of after you brush your teeth without the peppermint flavor. So it's a great combination with lots of other flavors, which we'll go into.
I love how you kind of called that note out there, Katie, when we talk about that cooling effect, because most of the time people pair that with the flavor of mint. But this seems like it's pretty different, right? So what are some good flavors that we can pair that with?
Yeah, so you can do any kind of fruit, and it should fit pretty well. So you could do, strawberry, and then have that icy, refreshing note at the end. Lemon is a great pairing as well. So those are both really good.
Yeah, and then when we talk about application for this, is there a standard application? Does it only work in hot beverages, or does it only work in cold beverages, or where can it work?
The really cool thing about it is that it works in both, so you can do cold or hot. We did experiment with some hot coffee applications, which was really unique because at very low doses within the beverage, it'll have like a bitter blocking effect. So whereas hot black coffee might have that bitter aftertaste, it actually smoothed it out a lot, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and then I'm assuming as well, when we start talking about like our cold applications for it, it really can just provide an extra layer of depth and complexity to maybe a standard flavor, which kind of ties back into our Fuji apple, is providing a base that we can start to build more unique and complex flavors on. Why do you think it will be so popular in 2026?
Yeah, I think with the newer generations, getting into mocktails a lot more now than in the past, I think this will be a really deep, fun and exciting thing to drink, on a weekend. Similar with like boba. Boba, it's like an experience, something that like pops in your mouth when you drink the beverage. So I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, and we talk about like the perception a lot in episode 1 of Behind the Flavor when we talk to our sensory scientist, Megan Sampson. But a lot of these things, although they might not directly impact the flavor profile and how we would think about it, it really actually adds to it by making you perceive it a different way. So for me, I can see it happening pretty well in like our mocktail categories, where at times we'll use some different tricks to kind of give it that bite like an alcohol would. We can kind of do the same thing with this sensation, where we can kind of give that like cooling effect that can tie into it. How do you see it working out in like the confectionery category? Do you think we could tie it into some form of like candies or anything like that?
Yeah, I could see a lot of combinations working with a more indulgent flavor mixed with this cooling property. I feel like it could give a very good ice cream profile. So if you were to have a cake and a cookie, something like that, and then add the cooling on top of it, I think that would work great together.
Yeah, it would really bring out like kind of that cold sensation you would get from an ice cream in a non-ice cream form.
Yeah.
I also could see that working in a category I work a lot in, which is our infused gummy category, because you had mentioned earlier that it can, at low usage rates, help cover some bitter notes in coffee. It can kind of do the same effect with some of those off notes that we get from some of the emulsions. One of the other things that I really wanted to point out with this is we saw a trend in 2025 where packaging was really trending for consumers. So really one of the ideas behind bringing this out, Katie, was that we could actually kind of go beyond the flavor and incorporate more of those sensations to kind of elevate the experience consumers are having.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of consumers are looking for a full sensory experience when consuming beverages. So I found that this is perfectly suitable for that.
Katie, so when we talk about those sensations and experiences that can give you, do you think this like flavor of the year is gonna like trend for only like a certain season, or do you think it could encompass the entire year?
Yeah, I think the interesting part about this is that it could really be a full year addition to your line. So I feel like with the summertime, we can really focus on those like lemonades and refreshers and things like that. Whereas in the winter, we could transition to like a winter blast.
Just thinking about like cracking open a can of lemonade and it's not, ice cold and there is no ice in it, but it's coming across to me like there is ice in the can. So it could really give a unique experience that way. Well, thank you, Katie, for joining us on this episode. Stay tuned for our next segment of our Flavors of the Year for 2026. Welcome back to our next segment in the Flavor of the Year 2026 release. In this segment, we have the People's Choice Awards with the People's Choice of Beck Flavors, Warren Holloway. Warren is one of our sample coordinators here at Beck Flavors, and he's releasing the next Flavor of the Year, which is?
Fuji apple.
Oh, and what is a Fuji apple, Warren?
A Fuji apple is a crossbred. In 1939, in Tohoku Laboratories, in Japan, it was created. It's a mix between the delicious apple and the Janice Atkins apples. During the course of that time in 1939, when they got it into the labs and they went to working with it, it took almost another 30 years for them to actually commercially put it out to make it available for individuals in Japan. It took another almost 20 years up until 1980 for it to be available in America. So this is something that has been going on for a long time, even longer than we actually knew or had the chance to taste in our mouths. When you think of something like this, you think of the nostalgia that goes along with it. When you bite into a good apple, how it just makes your mouth water. And us here at Beck Flavors, we choose to be the flavor that you savor.
I will say, if I may ask, so when you bite into that, with our Fuji apple flavor, what kind of flavor, what does it taste like? What is it going to perceive itself like?
Nirvana.
Nirvana?
Nirvana.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
Is it going to be like, an apple that tastes more like its flesh? Is it going to be juicy? How is that going to come across to us?
It's going to be totally juicy, and it's going to activate your salivary glands. You probably find yourself looking for a napkin or asking your friend to give you one.
As it salivates all over. And then although Fuji apple is kind of like our flavor of the year here, we also are looking at it as kind of like a base flavor. Right? So the Fuji apple can stand by itself, but then we can also get complex with it and add it to yuzus and other different pairings to make it really more in-depth there. If I may ask, Warren, why do consumers love Fuji apple?
I think it's been said for many years, an apple a day will keep the doctors away. As we trend now further into thinking healthy, living healthy, eating healthy, an apple is something that's healthy. I mean, kids take them to school, give them to the teachers. Couldn't wait to get them at home and eat them. You can put almost anything on them. Cream, cheese, caramel, peanut butter, you name it, you do it, we got it.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying there is like it's almost like a double trend, which is why we're saying it's more of like a base flavor as well as standalone. Is it's not only attacking the health trend that we're seeing in the market, but that nostalgia trend from back when you were younger as a kid. Since we're talking about Fuji apple as a base flavor, can you give me some examples of where that base Fuji apple could be incorporated with other accenting flavors?
Got apple spice, apple fritter, that's located behind me. Apple ice cream, apple cake, apple pie, apple anything you could possibly think of. Apple juice, apple seltzer, I mean anything. Apple in your tea, you name it. We can do that.
So what we're saying there, Warren, is we're saying new and unique flavors, right? So we're talking a little bit about how the apple can pair with, the spices and those desserty flavors, but then we can also take that apple and pair it with a blood orange or a yuzu or a lavender to help make it a more complex, depthful flavor, if you will. Why do we think apple is trending in 2026?
Trending right now because everybody is looking for something that's going to be a little bit greater or a little bit tasteful or tastier than the last thing that they had. And currently right now, all over the world, everybody is seeking Nirvana in their mouth.
Well, thank you, Warren, for joining me for the People's Choice flavor. Stick around, everybody, for our next category, Global Indulgence. Welcome, everybody, on our last stop of the Flavor of the Year 2026, where we're going to talk Global Indulgence with our certified flavors, Kevin Burdak. And if you haven't gotten the opportunity to yet, please check out episode 2 of Behind the Flavor, where Kevin does a fantastic job deep diving vanilla. Pivoting, because I believe our new Flavor of the Year for 2026 Global Indulgence is what, Kevin?
It's coconut pandan, Mike.
That's funny that it is coconut pandan because, a lot of people are familiar with coconut, right? And this being kind of a dual flavor, if you will. The coconut part everybody's familiar with, but the pandan part, it's kind of fitting that you that did vanilla as episode 2 is getting a chance to take a crack at pandan. What is pandan?
Pandan's basically an herb that's grown primarily in Southeast Asia. And actually, people use it as a houseplant too, up here. But it's used in a lot of different applications, particularly in Vietnamese, Filipino, Thai cuisines, and anywhere around that area that it's really popular because it imparts. And they refer to it as the vanilla of Southeast Asia.
Which is so fitting that you would take it in. So let's talk a little bit about that. So we know that coconut, right, has a lot of health properties that come to it. Is it the same way with pandan? Do consumers look at that as like a healthy option as well?
Actually, they do because of the fact that it's actually green leaves and all that stuff of that, and then it's rich in antioxidants and just overall good for you.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a dual trend then because it's a global inspired, being that it comes from the Asian market, as well as it kind of checks that health box that we're seeing a lot of consumers move to. So let me ask you, Kevin, what are some applications you think that this would work well in?
Besides in any kind of cooked goods and everything like that, it really works out well in drinks. That to add an interesting twist to that, it's like why settle with just a typical rum chata type coconut drink when you can add that special touch to it by adding pandan to it and give it that extra
oomph, yeah, that kind of top note, if you will,
Yes.
of adding that unique inspired flavor to it. In your years being in the certified flavor industry, is this new to you too? Is pandan kind of like something that hasn't been dealt with a ton in the past?
I've kind of heard a bit of that, but it never really gained any traction until more recently. And it seems like and part of that's probably because of the social media influence of that it's like people are willing, even if they can't go to these countries directly, they can experience them through the different flavors that they have to offer.
Which I think is so true to Beck, and what we do is bringing these global things or these fruits that you may never be able to try and giving them in a vehicle that you can try here on some of your favorite things, like you're saying, like beverages and, cooked goods and all that. So, Kevin, something we've been asking people about the flavors of the year is, where would you use this flavor of the year if you personally had to do it?
I'd definitely use it in something like coffee. And then any kind of dairy products, especially like ice cream or sorbets, and combine them together and have a nice cold brewed latte with coconut pandan, and that sounds like that would be the perfect combination.
Yeah, and I know as a consumer, if I saw that out there, I would be very curious as what that pandan is, so I definitely would grab that bottle off the shelf. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Behind the Flavor of the Years, where we talk about our new 2026 flavors of the year. If you would like to request a sample of any of the flavors that we have talked about so far, please go to www.beckflavors.com, hit that request a sample button. And as always, please subscribe to the channel, like, and most importantly, comment below on anything that you would like to see us cover in future episodes. Thanks for joining me, Kevin.
Thank you, Mike.